I just find it funny how the two first round running backs both so good and no coach wants to use them.
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams, and with me today for this Top Shelf Tuesday edition, our cavalcade of stars, starting with our favorite team leader, Mr. Mike Kicking Mike. Somebody mute. And how are you?
Doing well. A lot of good football.
Yes, indeed. And George, one of our favorite consultants. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm good. I'm good. Hopefully, I'm gonna be a whole lot better in a little while.
And team captain for life, Will Cotton. Will, how are you doing on this Top Shelf Tuesday edition?
I'm doing great. I'm ready for the summer, but they say there's no sports in the summer, so I guess we're in prime time. So I'll take it.
Yes, and fans, for this episode and the next few weeks, we're going to be able to comment on the full slate. We're taping a little later, so hopefully the old man can stay up. But in segment one, we're going to recap the NFC games. In segment two, we're going to recap the AFC games. And in segment three, we're going to do a Super Bowl preview, or actually big game preview. We don't want anybody looking at us. But first, NFC, Green Bay, San Francisco. George, give us your insights on that game. What did you think, sir?
To me, it was the coming out party of Jordan Love. I think Green Bay finally has realized that they got another winner on their hands. I've been on their kid all year. I watch him, probably about halfway through the season, the switch flip for him, things started making sense, and the game slowed down, and you could see it. And he had it during Dallas, and he did it in. I think the game got big, the spot got big for him, but it was one of those things where the young buck comes through and he winds up realizing that he made a bad decision. He tried to play hero ball, but that happens with the young kids. But San Francisco is who they are. They are a talent of weapons, and Purdy is just sitting there. All he has to do is push the buttons because they have a talent of weapons. And they have it. And that defense will travel. So and
McCaffrey doesn't have to travel too far because if I'm not mistaken, San Francisco should be home.
Yep.
All right, Mike, what do you think about that?
This game just showed me a little bit how bad the NFC is because the Giants beat the Packers recently with Tommy Cutlets recently, and they almost beat the 49ers. It does seem watching these games that the AFC is just when I was a kid in the NFC, whoever won the NFC championship was your Super Bowl winner. You just get that vibe. I don't know. At least I do. The AFC is just light years ahead. San Francisco, good for them with the comeback. Good for Purdy. People wanted to see if Purdy could do it. He did it. But he also looked terrible early on, so that doesn't really bode well. And Debo's hurt, and that's a big part of the offense. But yeah, the Packers did look a lot better than I thought they would.
I did see that injury, and they did have some issues with that. Will, Green Bay, San Francisco, what do you got for me, sir?
Oh, it was a great game. I mean, it was close. It came down to really a missed field goal. If they made that field goal, then it could have gone to overtime. But it was great to see that Aaron Jones was healthy. He had 100 yards. He was keeping the sticks moving. If you looked at the stats, Jordan Love did not have a great game. You actually had to watch the game to see what he was doing. And that dude definitely, like George said, I think it's his coming out party. The stats don't tell the truth. I mean, that dude was he was making plays, timely throws, and that dude has a cannon. When I talk about a cannon, that bad boy can let it go. I ain't gonna lie. Green Bay should be very excited about the next couple of years. I think what they should do is lock him up now, do the same thing with Mahomes, do small contracts right now, put some talent around him, and pay him on the back end, and they'll be good for the next 7, 8 years if they do it like that. But it was a great little. Yes, it was great.
So you would lock him up, Mike? Would you lock him up? Because you see what happens when you overpay quarterback.
When the time comes, I would. I'm not paying any
I
extra.
think he's in his contract year. I think this is the end of his rookie deal.
So then that's going to be what, like when we say lock up, 40 million. I mean, that's the going rate.
I mean, it depends. I mean, you can do what Mahomes did, and you can pay him a little bit on the front side, put talent around him, make him very for commercial appeal, having getting the dirt endorsements, ads, stuff like that, get money from Nike, all that stuff to supplement that. And then by the time you get to the point, it's like, okay, I'm setting go the free agents go. You can pay him and then rebuild again with young talent.
I think though Green Bay's in a situation. Green Bay's not Kansas City, so I mean and he's going to have to. I think he's at that cusp where he's about to become that Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, whatever. I'm not talking about, when I say that, I'm not talking about as great as them or anything like that.
Man,
but
they only won one apiece. I don't want to hear that.
But
I'm not in that category.
I know, but
they only won one.
about how he will control the game. Because, and things, because Green Bay's not that big a market. Yeah, they got the football team, but there's not much else. At this point in time, with Green Bay, you got to lock them up. They got no choice. They have a young team around him. And if they want to keep the young kid, because everybody's contract's going to come up year after year. So if you want to keep most of those pieces, you better lock up the most important piece now, because he showed you enough through a season that he can go ahead and he can manage. So I wouldn't hesitate. And Mike, back to your comment about how poor the NFC is. You got to realize the AFC looks so much better because so many quarterbacks are over there. And I mean established quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. So they're guys that aren't going to go ahead and get ruffled when things happen or when the team gets down. Take like the Green Bay San Francisco game. When Green Bay got down and you needed and Love needed to bring them back down the field. I mean, he rushed. You could see him rushing, trying to force things. If you got a Mahomes there or Allen or something, they're not going to do that because they've been in that situation. Mm-hmm. And Burrow was just born different. So your best quarterbacks are sitting right now over in the AFC. Mm-hmm. You got some young stars over in the NFC. It's just going to take them time to matriculate. Even though it don't help that Texans look like they've got a winner out of that whole situation right there with that kid. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm. All right, so Will, I'm gonna go to you for the Detroit game. In 2021, when Dan Campbell got hired and all last season, we joked seriously that they like playing for this guy. We just kept seeing Detroit winning more games, and strictly for entertainment purposes only, we started to pick Detroit a little more and a little more and a little more. And then my dumb behind picked them at Thanksgiving, but that's my fault. But what do you think about Detroit finally getting not even back? I can't even say back, because the last time they won something, it wasn't even called the big game. It was called the NFL Championship. So since you've kind of been on this since the beginning, what are your thoughts on Detroit getting that win?
Man, it's a great city to get back to Titletown. If you think about the history of Detroit, they had the Pistons, they had the Red Wings, the Lions. They've never really been that good there, but now their football team is back. I mean, that's great. I mean, the people of Detroit, I mean, all they've gone through with depression and the pandemic and everything with their workforce and everything, for them to get those wins, that's excellent, man. I'm very happy for the people there. It's been a long time. I can't find anybody who's going to root against them. I mean, you can't. I mean, unless he's playing like money or your team, it's hard to root against. But man, these guys, it's you love them. And the funny thing is, everyone gave them a grade F when they had the draft. They had the worst draft. Yeah, and they killing with all their running backs, and they doing their thing. So I guess we don't know anything. That's why we just go stay behind this mic.
And speaking of Mike, what did you think, man? Were you rooting for Baker, or how did you see this game turning out?
I was rooting for Detroit. I just find it funny how the two first-round running backs, both so good, and no coach wants to use them. Gibbs is, every time he gets the ball, those 9 times, it just looks like magic. But he gets him 9 times. And you look all season, I think his biggest game was like 14 carries, but he gets like 70, 80 yards every stupid game. Let him run. He's good. Goff's good. They got receivers, defense. I mean, Campbell looks like a great coach, but got talent everywhere. It's easy to coach when the team's loaded. And they're kind of loaded. They're young. They got some good defensive pieces, but on offense, you just look at some of the wide receivers and Gibbs, and you just.
I mean, their line is crazy. Oh my God, I didn't even know how good they were.
And so the next matchup will be the test going against that defense. But I hope they give Gibbs a couple more carries.
And we'll preview that in segment 3. George, Detroit, Tampa Bay. What is your thoughts on that?
I want, you know what? I have to give Tampa Bay some credit. Tampa Bay's got some players down there. They got more players down there than I think anybody realized how many they weren't just Tom Brady and Leonard Fournette. They got a lot more down there. They got a lot more juice down there. And that defense is good. That defense is really good. I had to give it to them because Detroit won, and I'm happy for them, but there was no cakewalk. They had to come with it. I'm glad to see that they did give them a good game, so then we didn't have to hear about, Philly should have beat them or stuff like that. And I think it set up good for Detroit, because I know Detroit wanted Dallas again after that debacle on that Monday night game. So but it turned out to be a real good game. I think Goff was a perfect fit for that system Dan Campbell's put in place over there. And he was, outside of being a great counselor, he's a great coach because Goff needed some counseling to get his edge back. So I think congratulations to him. This might be the third curse that I'm going to see in my lifetime broken because when got traded from Detroit back in like the 50s, he said you'll never win. So we'll see if this is the third. It goes right up there with the Cubs and the Red Sox. So we'll see if this is the third curse I see broken.
So George, I got to ask you, if you're Tampa Bay, do you sign Baker to a long-term deal?
That's a tough call. And it's a tough call because we're talking about a situation where Baker only got hot in the that latter part, and he had the playoffs set up nice for Baker because he had a limping in Philadelphia team, and then so he got a win. They had to win the last game. Who they play, like the Saints or something, to win the last game to get in. So if I want to push, and that all depends on who's out there. So I would take my time. If I'm Tampa, I'm taking my time to look at what my other options are. I'm gonna wait to see what Chicago does and see if I can make an offer to get Fields, or something along those lines. Because if I can't get any other options, then I'll make Baker, and it won't be. I'm not going long term with Baker. That's going to be. I might have to put him on the Kirk Cousins plan, or something along those lines. Because we've seen enough history with Baker that I can't just put the franchise in him.
Okay. Mike, would you give Baker a contract? Has he earned the contract, Mr. King?
When you say long term, how long do you mean? I mean, 1 to 2 years, and then try and find someone on the back end. That's fine, but I'm not giving him 3-4 years. No chance.
No chance. Will Cotton, come on, man. You gonna give Baker a little bit of security?
Yeah, I mean, maybe not Tampa, but some team will pay him, maybe a 2 to 3 kind of contract. The guy can play still. I mean, he's not, the franchise, the 5-year, $200 million guy. But I mean, put those kind of guys on teams, man. He's going to be on a team. I don't know if he's going to get a good contract. I hope he gets a chance. I was one of the biggest Baker Mayfield hater. If you looked at all of the podcast, you'll know I'm a big hater. But the ball, he balled. So I mean, pay the man, and he should. So
I think I say this. I think that the problem is that you take Tampa, and Tampa has a really good defense, has enough pieces on offense, so they're right at the cusp. You have to ask yourself the question: if you're a GM or you're the team, is Baker Mayfield going to push us over to the next level? And the incredible answer is no, because he's proved it. He's proved it. So that just puts you there.
Maybe you could look at like a Russell Wilson. Maybe there's a Kirk Cousins that's also free agent.
Russell Wilson won a Super Bowl. Russell Wilson won a Super Bowl.
I'm not saying, but I'm saying, are you gonna? Is that what you're gonna do? Like, is that what you're? Or Justin Fields?
So did Joe Flacco, and you ain't going to call him.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call either one of them. I wouldn't call Kirk or Russ.
Well, fellas,
Maybe
before we
Kirk.
close, this will be funny on Thursday. Let's just tell you that Baker Mayfield was the draft class of 2018. So that's funny to George and Will for later on this week. 2018 draft class. It's amazing if you're still in college at that time. But when we get back, fans, we're going to talk about the AFC. We'll be right back on the Odd Coaches Podcast.
The reviews are in for Dr. Keith Adams' book, Finding the Balance, My Personal Journey to Academic and Athletic Success. College professor and student-athlete academic expert Dr. Lisa Rubin said, "There is nothing out there like this book, so I do hope people will pay attention and give it a read." Former George Mason standout Folarin Campbell said, "Consider this book an opportunity to work directly with Dr. Adams just like I did. I assure you that there will be something you can take away that will be useful to you throughout your personal journey." Ryan Waite, a recent college graduate who is a software engineer, said, "I like how the book is based on research, which makes it good for general students as well as student athletes." The book serves as both a memoir to Dr. Adams' 30-year academic and athletic career, as well as an instructional guide to assist student athletes, parents, coaches, teachers, and administrators navigate through the challenges of finding a better balance between academic and athletic success. The book includes over 15 personal stories and anecdotes from Dr. Adams, along with numerous former players and colleagues from a variety of sports and endeavors. You can order your copy at www.ckasaveproject.org. From the main page, simply click CKA Save Project Services and order the Find the Balance book. For more information, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast. In segment 2, we're going to do an AFC recap, starting with Houston versus Baltimore. Will, I got to start with you. My big brother said that the best wishbone quarterback in the history of the league keeps winning, and he does keep winning. So what do you think, man? Baltimore shook off 2 to 3 weeks of some rust in about a half. They run the ball well. What are your thoughts on Houston versus Baltimore? And feel free to make fun of Rick.
Well, it's hard when you're a 2-time MVP and quarterback, and you're still
only one right now. It's only one.
Don't worry. They're coming. But it was a win. It's a game that they had to win. They got out there quickly. They got them out of there, and most importantly, everybody's healthy. So move on. That's exactly what you want to do as the first seed. No rust. Get a little play in. Show that you look like you're the number 1 seed and move on. I like it. And you're still back in Baltimore. So next up, let's go, baby.
All right. Mr. King, I'm sure you work with a couple of Baltimore Ravens fans. What were your thoughts on Houston versus Baltimore?
I think the Ravens are just the outward favorites, but it's because of the defense. I mean, Lamar's great, but the defense is the team. Houston can run. Stroud, I thought in the first half was extremely impressive because they couldn't run the ball to save their lives. So it was 2nd and 10, 2nd and 11, and he was keeping them in the game, and they should have had the lead at half. And that was all C.J. Stroud and, well, special teams. But on offense, it was C.J. Stroud keeping them alive. So I thought he was impressive. But for the Ravens, it's defense. They're just across the board. You can't run. Got good corners. They got good secondary. So, and obviously the linebackers are elite. It's just extremely, extremely impressive defense. And you have Lamar Jackson. So it's kind of, he's almost the afterthought. You can talk MVP all you want. The defense is the MVP of that team. Lamar is great, but the defense is better. It's impressive.
All right, George, you've seen a lot of quarterback play. What do you think about Baltimore against Houston and Lamar?
First and foremost, there must be whoever that award is out there for GM or whatever. Baltimore's GM needs to get it every year. They continuously find these defensive players is ridiculous to keep that defense as good and sound as it is. On to Lamar. Lamar's about to do something that's probably pretty incredible. We haven't seen a so-called running quarterback, to get a team to the Super Bowl and have a real good chance to win since Cam Newton. Lamar throws the ball just enough. I mean, he really has a hose. He's got a gun. And this was the first time in the playoffs that I've watched Lamar that he was smart about everything he did. He was smart when he took off and ran. He was smart with his passes, and his passes were right where they were supposed to be, in tight windows. I can't say anything negative with him with his game because, when he had his opportunity, he took over the game, and there wasn't much Houston could do. I don't know if there's anything that any team right now can do with them. And that's saying, I mean, you have to withstand that pounding that's going to come with that running game. Their play action is ridiculous because they're running in out of a pistol set, which makes it 10 times worse. And you're going to get pounded on the other side of the ball because that defense is rock solid. So they're tough out, man. And you got to go to Baltimore. They're a tough out. They're a tough out. Here. Yeah, they're a tough out, and they're tough on the road. So if they happen to make it to the Super Bowl, it's going to be because I got to have to give them credit if they do, because he's gone through the gauntlet, because he's going to beat one of the best quarterbacks in the game, regardless of who they wind up seeing. And good luck, NFC team. That's all I got to say. Good luck. That's all I got to say.
So George, while I got you here, CJ, that was one of the most incredible rookie years I've seen in a long time. When Houston hired their coach, I know Follerin was on the air with Will and I and said, "Guy's a good coach." So you got a rookie head coach and a rookie quarterback coming in at the same time. Do you think Houston can sustain this, or them damn defensive coordinators are some of the smartest people ever? They're going to figure it out, and they're going to have a tough second year. What do you think about that, George?
No, because they're going. No, I'm saying no. They're not going to figure it out. They will sustain it. They did a couple things that were smart. When they had to trade, when they emptied house and got rid of everybody, they drafted well. So, and you saw their drafts. That offensive line is ready to roll. He's got receivers. They got receivers on the trade with the one kid that was hurt, the young kid, and he's got another one out there. And the style that they run, he is not I'm not going to say gimmick, but we're not running things out of pistol. He's not a quarterback like Goff who needs play action in order to be real effective. He can sit back in the back. He's a pocket passer. He's also not that gunslinger or creator that Williams is. That's coming out of USC this year. So he's going to make safe throws. He's going to make high percentage throws, and he can fit them into a window because he has a cannon. So, they're set up for a long run. Houston is going to be dangerous as we go. And you can probably by next year after, you can wind up adding his name to the rest of the plethora of great quarterbacks in the AFC, where you got, Mahomes and Burrow and Allen and whoever, and it keeps going. The only one in there that keeps saying is a great quarterback is my man out in San Diego, but he can't win a damn thing. But if they get maybe if they get Jim Harbaugh, things will change.
Yeah, right. Texans also have $75 million in free agent money. They're second. So they were doing it
second to the Commanders in free agent cap money.
But they know a good team already.
But they know how to spend it. Ready. Yeah, they know how to spend it though.
Yeah,
they made good decisions.
They had the worst offensive line last year, so they got $75 million. Imagine if you give Stroud time. Imagine if they could have blocked some of the Ravens and given the running back a chance. They're going to be better next year.
What they did though, they used their draft and they drafted some linemen because they got some rookies and they played. Mm-hmm. They played damn good. So they're only going to get better. Yeah, only going to get better.
All right, we're going to talk about the Kansas City Buffalo game now. We got a winner in Kansas City, Buffalo. Share your thoughts, sir. If you come at the King, what?
If you come at the King, you better not miss. And Buffalo missed. So let me tell you, until something else changes in the NFL, everything goes through Mr. Mahomes and Kansas City. Okay, we can talk about who looks great and who does all this. When it comes time to playoffs, it's Pat Mahomes time, and it's time for Kansas City. So it is what it is, baby. Ain't nothing changed. Year might have changed the scenario because there's still one dude on top of the hill. So,
all right, Mr. King, thoughts on Kansas City Buffalo?
It just seems to be a bad matchup for Buffalo. Cincinnati figured it out. Josh Allen just needs to go to the NFC and get away from Mahomes. It's all there is to it.
Cincinnati figured it out for a year. Cincinnati figured it out for 1 year because that next year they came back and lost. So,
Cotton Man, what are you thinking about that game, sir?
Man, I mean, it, like Mike says, it's got to kill you when you built this team to beat this team and you can't beat them. This was the best chance for them to do it. I don't know. The running back, James Cook, was looking good. Dig did not play very well during the strep. I think during the last couple games from the regular season into the playoff, he wasn't playing very well at all. They could have definitely used him a lot, but that's going to hurt him definitely for sure. But yeah, it's just tough. They just can't figure it out. But that can't be your pinnacle. You can't beat the Chiefs in the playoffs and then be like, all right, and then lose to the Super Bowl. Remember, keep focused. You have to win. Don't try it again, but don't build to be one team and lose the big pie.
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this real quick. We just thought we got out of one situation where one sheriff was running everything, and that was the GOAT himself, with Tom Brady. Looks like at that one game, Brady passed the mantle, and what are we in? What is this? 5 years? Five years running now? He's been in the AFC Championship. Is this 5 years running? He's been in the AFC Championship.
Let's go with it because 0.5's not here.
Yeah, I think it's 5 years running. He's been in the AFC Championship, and then so what are you gonna do? I mean, it's like having the gatekeeper back there again. So AFC, good luck beating them.
All right. So in segment 3, we are going to preview Championship Sunday and maybe have a prediction or two for the big game. Be right back on the Odd Coaches podcast.
The CKA SAVE Project is an industry leader in advocating for student-athlete, academic, and athletic needs. Through academic and athletic enrichment, the CKA SAVE Project is on the forefront of the issues facing 21st century student-athletes. As student-athletes continue to struggle to find a better balance between academic and athletic success, the CKA SAVE Project offers academic and athletic services to support student-athlete academic success, including academic skills assessment, academic and athletic consulting, academic monitoring, academic and athletic workshops. For more information or to schedule a free consultation, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches podcast and segment 3, Championship Sunday preview. First in the NFC, Mike, we have Detroit versus San Francisco. You make the call, my friend.
I mean, San Francisco they've been the best team in the NFC. Detroit would be an interesting story, but I'd have to probably just go chalk there and go San Francisco.
Okay, Will Cotton, Detroit versus San Francisco. They like playing for that guy. What do you think, man?
Coach, I'm not getting off the I'm not getting off the wagon now. Can't get off the wagon now. Give me Detroit. Surprise the world. Let's go, Detroit.
All right, Detroit. George, you are the football guy. What do you think, Detroit or San Francisco?
Everything in me says says San Francisco, okay? But Shanahan finds a way to lose big games. Somehow, some way, Shanahan finds a way to lose big games. So do not be surprised if the feel good story continues and the Lions end up in the Super Bowl. That's all I got to say about it.
All right, I'm going to stay with you, York. Kansas City is coming right down I-95. You got Patrick Mahomes, and you say he's the king, even though he's got two Super Bowls.
Two.
And my brother's least favorite quarterback, Lamar Jackson. George, what do you got, Kansas City or Baltimore?
It should be Kansas City cannot withstand the pounding that they are going to take. And that bend but won't break defense will wind up breaking. But you got Pat Mahomes on the other side. I can't put money against the King because he's still sitting there and he finds a way to win all the time. I like Baltimore. I would love to see Baltimore in because I would love to see Lamar do his thing. And like I said before, if Lamar goes to the Super Bowl, he will have beaten one of the best quarterbacks ever to play the game and get to the game. So I hope he gets there. I'm pulling for him, but hey, the King's there, man. You got to do something special to beat the King. And the King had to get over the original King to get there. So, it's I can't bet against him. I ain't putting no money on it. I can tell you that much.
My wife says I bet and don't put no money down anyway. Mike, what do you got, man? Kansas City versus Baltimore.
I mean, the only time Mahomes looked human was against the Bucks when the defense was so good, it was ferocious. The only time he's looked human, and the Ravens have that, and Lamar doesn't have to go up against that. Chiefs defense is okay.
Pedestrian.
So it seems like the advantage, and you saw the crowd. I mean, the crowd was responsible for half those penalties, and that's not going to go away. Seems like the Ravens, but like you said, I'm not picking against Patrick Mahomes. He's the best quarterback of this generation until proven otherwise. And it's going to take more than 1 year to prove it it's more than a game to prove it otherwise. He's got 2 rings, and he's young. So this is his league.
All right.
Can't pick. I'm not betting because Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes and the Ravens are better.
All
right. God, man, you win, Ben. I know that. What are you thinking? Kansas City versus Baltimore.
Man, I'm going with Baltimore. Baltimore, man. I like Baltimore going to win, man. They finding a way to do it. Tough defense. People are sleeping, man. And their skills guys are playing, man. Zay Flowers are playing pretty well. Playing well. Gus Edwards is actually playing very well, considering Dalvin Cook is probably going to complement
Dalvin
that
Cook has
very
fresh
well.
Legs.
Yes,
very fresh.
Isaiah Likely has been playing lights out, and Mark Andrews may come back, so they can run a very deadly 2 tight ends and mask a lot of things with their offense right there. So I like it, man. I like Lamar to do it. The last time I think Pat Mahomes ran into Burrow for the first time, lost, and Burrow went to the Super Bowl. So I think the same thing is going to happen. They're going to run into the buzzsaw. Ravens, Lions, let's get it, baby. Let's go.
Give me Dalvin Cook under on whatever the yardage is. Give me the under.
I will say this. The only times Pat Mahomes has lost was when he lost in the Super Bowl, he had the 2 linemen out and he was on one leg. Mm-hmm. And when he lost to Burrow, he had 2 linemen out too. So
he got a full defense, but I mean they were everywhere. But the offensive line wasn't good.
He's got full complement this time. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that to go anything against the Ravens defense because I think the Ravens defense is the best in the game. But I don't know how one man beats a team, but he's done it and he keeps doing it. And I this is what like this. It won't shock me if he does it again. I'll leave.
I hear that.
So let me make sure I get my predictions correct. So Will, you've got Detroit and Baltimore in the Super Bowl. I say the NFL will not let that happen. Strictly for entertainment purposes only. Mike King, who do you have in the big game? I'm sorry, please don't sue us. I'm going no budget production.
Again, I'm going Ravens 49ers. 49ers defense didn't work out in that one game. 49ers defense is good enough to make that game interesting.
So a rematch of the Harborough Bowl from years gone by.
The color of the cover of the Super Bowl logo is who's supposed to go. So it's purple and red. So
Makes
the
sense.
the NFL already told us. So
that is just a coinky dink. George, come on. We're not in
great
conspiracy
season. Great
theories,
season in NFL this year.
I got In the Super Bowl, I got the winner of 49ers and Lions against the winner of Baltimore and Kansas City. That's what I got. That's what I got.
I think that's the perfect way to end. So on behalf of our cavalcade of stars, I'm Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and or watching the Odd Coaches podcast, and we will see you on the sidelines. Until next time, take care.
The Odd Coaches podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student-athletes' academic and athletic skills, to measuring and monitoring student-athlete academic progress, to improving student-athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA Save Project provides wraparound services for student-athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org.